News Talk 820, WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Can you believe that we are already in the third hour of the show? That is pretty amazing, Producer Garrett, isn't it? It is. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here is a big one I have for you right now. The Biden White House. It's quite possible that he knows, well, they know, he might not know much of anything, honestly, but it's quite possible that his administration knows that he's not going to win. And therefore, they're bracing themselves, or actually, not they're bracing themselves, but therefore, they're passing a whole bunch of new regulations and policies to help sustain what they want and the direction they want this country to go, which obviously is a horrible direction. Here's some examples given by Liz Peek on Fox News. One of the columns she wrote, the new FTC rules that ban non-compete agreements. A rewrite of Title IX. EEOC charges of racism against a company because they avoided hiring criminals. That's laughable, but I'm sure it's true. More federal help on student loans. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, preventing the merger of two luxury goods products makers. New overtime rules. New regulation detailing airline refunds. New decision restricting drilling in Alaska's National Petroleum Reserve. The word is National Petroleum Reserve, and he's stopping it from being the Petroleum Reserve that it was put in as by Congress. The FTC blocking hospital group mergers, new power plant emissions rules, putting a hold on ban on menthol cigarettes, a revamp of school lunch mandates, reducing sugar and salt. Okay, so what Liz Peek says is they're signaling their pessimism about the election in a very surprising way. Looks like they panicked and that its days are numbered, and they're trying to push this through. She talks about a new fake news CNN poll showing Trump leading the president by 6 points, one of the biggest gaps yet. And more important, Fox News surveys have Trump inching ahead in several critical swing states, she says. So she thinks that's what's going on. Now, I'll offer a few other things in here, because there's a lot of bad news for him and his team right now. But it might not mean that he's going to lose. And that's the other thing, too. I do not want you to get your confidence up too much, because I'm telling you, we should still plan on not winning. I'm telling you, we should still plan on not winning. And do not allow yourself with those goggles to be put on and to think there's no way we're going to lose. I'm telling you something, there's many ways we will lose. I might not even know half of them, but there's a lot of ways we could lose. Michael Moore on Fake News CNN last night telling Joe Biden, he spoke, she's like, I'm speaking to him one-on-one. He actually said, I know we're speaking to millions of people. The poor guy doesn't realize that CNN can't correct a million viewers at most any time at all. When Fox News cracks 2 to 4, 1 to 2 typically. They're the highest rated news outlet by far, as we all know, on cable. Anyways, Michael Moore gave a stern warning to Biden last night at CNN. His chances of not being reelected, I think, at this point is so great because of these numbers. And because he's losing the youth vote. He's lost the Arab American vote in Michigan, is what he says. So he talks about how CNN has reported instances of anti-Semitism, but also pointed to a CNN poll showing more than 80% of voters under 30 disagree with Biden's handling of the war. Now, before I get into more details on this, my question for you is this. Do you actually think the Biden administration knows it's going to lose the election this November? Do you think they already know that they're going to lose? And do you think Biden will lose this November? Do you personally think Joe Biden's going to lose this November? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. For me personally, and I've got a bunch more stories to share with you on this in a second, but for me personally, and chime in right now, 800-288-WBAP. But for me personally, I think right now it sure looks like we're going to win, but it doesn't mean we're going to win. We could get bad news that keeps trending in the wrong direction in 2 weeks, a week, 10 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, there's too much time. We have literally almost exactly, right around exactly 6 months. And as you know, a month or two is an eternity in politics, let alone 6. So I'm not going to hold out hope, or I'm not going to say it's not hope. I'm saying I'm not going to say we're going to win. I'm going to say I think right now we're going to win. Doesn't mean we're going to win, though. Does not mean anything. Nothing. So that's my thoughts on it. But I mean, if it were today or next, if it's this week or next week, most likely we would win. And in fact, I'm hearing some good news today, like these swing states, that he's got the leads in them pretty well as of right now, at least moderate leads to better than moderate leads, that it could be a washout as of right now today. That doesn't mean it will be in a month or in 6 months. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you actually think it's possible the Biden administration already knows it's going to lose this November? And do you think Biden will lose this November? You personally. 800-288-WBAP. Okay, so I think that I think it's interesting what they're talking about, how they're doubling down, tripling down, and ignoring that he's losing. And this is from DNY News. DNYnews.com, and they say this: Biden is still losing. His campaign should stop acting like he isn't. And they talk about this. They say he's trailing Trump in the swing states that won electoral colleges for the Democrats last time: Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Can you believe that? I'm going to say this again. Joe Biden is trailing Trump in the swing states that he won the Electoral College for the Democrats: Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The thing that I heard today on Fox from, I want to say it was Dana Perino, who's very not a dreamer on things. She is pretty wise on these things, as she was with George W. Bush's campaign as her campaign spokesperson for several years. And she was saying, I believe it was her that said, we literally could have a wider margin on the victory this fall than Trump had in 2016, and a wider margin than Biden had in 2020. The way it's playing out right now doesn't mean it's going to be that way, but the way it's playing out right now, we could have a wider margin than Trump got in 2016 and a wider margin than Biden got in 2020. That's exactly, we need that. We need that. Gallup poll: Biden sinks to the lowest approval rating ever at this point in presidency, in any president's history in their first term. He's at 38.7% approval rating. 38. We'll just round it up to 39% approval rating. The lowest before this, at this exact time in their first term. The lowest before that, we have Carter at 48%. I mean, dude, Biden's literally at 9% lower than where Carter was right now. 9 points lower. We have George H.W. Bush, who lost at 42 points. So George H.W. Bush, in his loss, in his first term, George H.W. Bush was 3 points higher than Biden right now. Read my lips, no new taxes. That cost him the election. The now deceased late president, George H.W. Bush. The only other one in the 40s was Hussein Obama at 46, with 7 points more than Biden. Trump with 47 points, and he lost. Remember that? At 47 points, he lost. But that was because of COVID those last several months. So Biden is literally 9 points worse than Carter was right now, and 3 points lower than George H.W. Bush was. You look at that. You look at Democrats from Axios, which is a liberal Democrat publication. Democrats enter panic mode as Gaza protests erupt, they say today. One House Democrat told Axios the longer they continue and the worse they get, the worse it's going to be for the election overall. One lawmaker warned that bringing out the public's most conservative side is what this is doing. It's bringing out the public's most conservative side. And at the House Democrats' closed-door caucus meeting yesterday, quote, many people were talking about the growing chaos on the campuses, one Democrat said, House Democrat. Many people are super frustrated and concerned. And Joe Biden's doing what good anti-Semites who hate Jews does, is he's being silent. Shh. Silence is approval, Joe. I think you said that several months ago or 8 months ago or whatever, shortly after the attacks on October 7th. Last but not least, the GOP is now plotting an ad blitz over the anti-Israel college protests. They're going to use every bit of that, and they should. So that is where we're at on that. Now, coming up next, the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Biden is going to, are you ready for this? $6 billion more in student loans, but it's not for your average college. Did you hear what this was for today? It's not regular college. It's a special kind of a college. And I would guess that about 95% of the students are leftists. They're Biden voters. And he wants to forgive $6 billion of their loans. Wait till you hear this category that you and I never would have thought of for forgiving student debts. And we'll ask you, student loan, and we'll ask you if you think, if you support doing this. That's next to the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. We have hundreds and hundreds of police at the UCLA campus live right now. And why they wait until the nighttime? I don't know why these idiots do this. Why they would think the nighttime is a better time to do this, but you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of cops with probably hundreds and hundreds of protesters there, where there was 2 to 3 hours of a violent beatings on both sides. The pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas protesters there had boards up to block off their compound, and you had pro-Israelis tired of being terrorized, beaten, and blocked from being able to enter their campus. They paid tens of thousands of dollars for, and so therefore they are they went to battle with them, and they had a lot of violence last night there. We talked about it. 2 hours they were allowed to just beat that living snot out of each other, and no cops showed up. That's because I'm gonna guarantee you it's just like with Colombia. Like they're like, well, don't get involved. Just stay away. We don't want cops here. We love supporting Jew-hating, Israel-hating terrorist supporters. Well, here's what we have from one of the legendary stations in Los Angeles, KTLA. It says that massive law enforcement on the campus of UCLA Wednesday, it's today, of course, ordering pro-Palestinian. They're ordering the demonstrators to disperse, the pro-terrorist demonstrators, calling the encampment an unlawful assembly after violence erupted overnight. So around 11 p.m. last night, we talked about that, 50 pro-Israel counter protests dressed in black and wearing white masks lobbed fireworks at the terrorist supporters and attempted to dismantle the barricades. 2 hours they stood by, cops did, as both factions traded punches, hurled items at each other, dispersed pepper spray, fire extinguishers, and chaotic scene that went for 2 hours before the LAPD started coming in and containing it. But demonstrators say the UCLA chancellor's statement authorizing them as unauthorized, or labeling them as unauthorized, provided an opening for the counter-protesters to take matters in their own hand. So they've got lots and lots of cops there on the scene right now. And I'm looking for more details. So we're waiting to see more from UCLA. That's kind of all I have on that, but it's breaking right now. That is what we have, all right? That's it for now. We'll keep following it as it breaks. That's happening right now. They're mounting up to go in there. Probably happen in the next hour or two. Remember, they're 2 hours behind us, so it's 8:21 there. They want to make sure the sun goes down so the people are emboldened to attack cops and beat people and hurt people, right? Good job, guys. Yeah. And I'm not blaming the cops, actually. I'm going to blame the university, because the cops probably do it when the university calls in, and they're the ones who are afraid of everything, and so they do things the wrong way. Okay, student loan debt cancellation. Joe Biden today has forgiven $6 billion for borrowers that were misled, supposedly, by the Art Institute. This is a CNN headline. They weren't misled by anything. If you go there and you keep going and you borrow money, you owe it. The Art Institute, a now defunct network for-profit colleges, 317,000 Joe Biden's bribing nakedly. I'm going to tell you something else. I'm from Chicago. I was when I was younger, I was definitely into art, and I wanted to be a Disney animator, and I did a lot of drawings, and I loved art. I just loved it. My sweet aunt, who has passed away, who I told you about, she's my great aunt, but she took me. She lived in the city, and we would go there after we moved out to the burbs. We would go there all the time, and as kids, she helped us. She helped raise us a little bit we'd go there for weekends and such. She'd take us all over the city, and she took me to the Art Institute as probably an 8th grader or freshman or something, and it was the most amazing thing. Now, this Art Institute for Chicago is not affiliated with this group, because I'm like, is that affiliated? No. So, anyways, but nonetheless, they call themselves the Art Institute. See, that's definitely is a little confusing, but you do your homework, buyer beware. Do you want to pay $6.1 billion for people that were art students? Do you personally want to pay $6.1 billion of your money to pay off student loans for art students? I would assume their degree's still on their resumes. Maybe it got them a job as an art teacher. I don't know. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Joe Biden says, well, my predecessor looked the other way. When colleges defrauded students and borrowers, I promised to take on this directly to provide borrowers with relief they need and deserve. This is BS. This is a naked bribe, just like the marijuana stuff was yesterday. By the way, that will not pass. They know it, but they did this last time, too. They pushed forward a rent thing, saying you could stay in your house if you're a bum and you're a criminal and you are not paying your rent for 2-3 months. We're extending that for COVID, even though it had nothing to do with COVID. Remember that? Supreme Court said stop it, and they knew they would, but they knew it would happen after the election of 2018. Do you want to pay for somebody's art school? And is this naked vote grabbing to you? A bribe is what I call it. And do you think this will buy Joe Biden votes? Do you actually think this will make them say, you know what, I'm voting for Joe? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Wouldn't you rather pay for somebody's plumbing or HVAC school, or somebody who is a professional contractor who has took out a loan for a vehicle or their tools? Wouldn't you rather pay off somebody who's a blue-collar worker? Actually, I would assume you'd rather pay for nobody's education, because nobody paid for yours, and that's my first choice. My second choice would be to pay for it for people that are not bums who won't pay their loans, and to help small business owners and blue-collar people. $160 billion in student loan debt for nearly $4.6 million already canceled by Joe Biden. $160 billion. This man's destroying our country. He's creating inflation. Today's announcement, one of the biggest group discharges made under the Borrowers Defense Program. Massachusetts, Iowa, Pennsylvania, the Art Institutes and its parents' company. So they get to, the students get free degrees. And I don't know if they're bogus, but the point of it is I'm not paying for somebody's art school. Are you? You want to do that? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, as promised, also, our EVs, I should say, are much more dangerous and even deadlier than other cars on the road in a crash with others. That is next. And we'll get into the marijuana stuff. We got a lot more on why marijuana is so dangerous to people and their health. Next, as Joe Biden wants to make that legal too, through his deregulation stuff, to nakedly bribe, get votes. And do you want to pay for people's art school right now as well? 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Anti-Israel protest, the pro-Hamas terrorist protest at UCLA, and the cops are lined up just like New York last night. And there's nothing right now, but man, there's probably, Producer Garrett, you and I have been watching this, probably hundreds of cops, right? Probably 300-400 cops, at least 200. I'd say 200 to 400 cops. I don't know the exact amount. Does that make sense to you? About right? Yeah, you're guessing about 150. Yeah, okay. So let's say 150 to 200 cops at least, and you figure there's one cop for every 4 or 5 protesters, probably something like that. So Very interesting. And Joe Biden, thankfully, is still keeping quiet because he wants to support the people who want to slaughter, rape, and kill and extinguish the Jews. Good job, Joe. We're proud of you. He also, so he's trying to pay off art students' college, as we talked about. He's also trying to pay off, or just said he forgave $6 billion, B as in boy, today for art students. And now he is, as you know, trying to schedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, which would put it on, it would be like a Tylenol with codeine. And I've taken some of those for a car crash I had years ago, and I can still take it from time to time with my injury as needed. I try to do it sparingly, and I do it sparingly, and I have for years because I don't want to get, go bad on that, go get addicted or anything. But marijuana, they want to put it on that level. They want to take it down from LSD, ecstasy, codeine. Oh, here. The marijuana would then be considered less risky than LSD, ecstasy, codeine, and Adderall and cocaine. Reclassifying it, though, the Daily Mail reports from several experts, could mislead the public into believing the drug is safe and dismiss serious risks of addiction, heart disease, and severe psychiatric illness. And the experts, they say, are warning psychosis and heart risks as officials are moving to downgrade the drug. They say, as I know and I've told you this, cannabis is, quote, still clearly addictive and poorly studied. Here's some of the stuff we have. And my question for you on this is, do you support reclassifying marijuana and decriminalizing it too? I do not. I don't care if you do it recreationally. The problem is legalizing it means children and people. Judge Janine was right. And I agree with this on alcohol, for example. And I'll tell you what else. Greg Gutfeld was right. Alcohol would not have been legalized nowadays. If we knew everything that we know about how many people it kills in crashes, how many people there's a tremendous amount of crime that's committed while people are under the influence of alcohol and marijuana. But the statistics I've seen in jailhouse stats are tremendous of how many were drunk or high or both when they committed their crime, whether it be murder, rape, arson, doesn't matter, whatever it may be. That has led to them being in prison. But do you support reclassifying marijuana and decriminalizing it too? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. The reclassifying, as they said, could mislead people into believing it's safe and dismiss serious risks like addiction, heart disease, and severe psychiatric illness. I've talked to you about this. It causes psychosis. Our number, by the way, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. They talk about the high-potency marijuana that now dominates the market. The levels of THC, which is psychoactive, are 13 to 15% on average. In the 70s, it had 4%. So today's marijuana, we had a caller yesterday, Jesse, about this yesterday. He said he used to do it all the time before becoming a pastor. But marijuana in the 70s had 4% THC. Today, it has almost 4 times that potency. Data suggests that weed-related addiction, mental illness, and hospitalization, the Daily Mail says, have soared in states like California where recreational cannabis has been legalized. It's been blamed for hundreds of child deaths due to parents ignoring their responsibilities while high or entering dangerous psychosis. When you have psychosis, marijuana-induced psychosis, you believe that people are trying to kill you. So when you think someone's trying to kill you, you will kill them before they can kill you. Earlier this year, a 32-year-old audiologist went into weed-induced psychosis and stabbed her boyfriend over 100 times, and cannabis was to blame by the experts. 100 times stabbing to death her boyfriend. And the reason why her defense said that she killed him was marijuana-induced psychosis. The judge accepted that as a factual basis and gave her probation. Remember that? And supervision and community service. Dr. Ronit Lev, an emergency physician at an addiction specialist at Scripps Mercy Hospital in San Diego, said this is a sad day for the children of America who are going to be more exposed to more of this. We're not following the science, and it's right there in front of us. Death data shows the number of fatalities related to cannabis are low. However, it causes tremendous health effects, negative health effects. Here's some of the statistics. Recent CDC figures suggest when it comes to hospitalization, there were 540,000. Look at this. Let me see, this is in 5 years, there were 540,000 ER visits related to cannabis. Actually, let me do this right. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. In 5 years in this country, 540,000 ER visits. So that's more than 100,000 ER visits because of marijuana in emergency rooms. 5 years, 540,000 ER visits because of cannabis. Comparison, there's 3,200 visits for ecstasy. Look at this. Ecstasy, people checking into the hospital for emergency for ecstasy, is 56 times less than marijuana. Are you hearing this? Joe Biden wants to take it out of the category of ecstasy, but yet ecstasy users are 56 times less likely to be checked into ER than weed. Most of the admissions are related to psychiatric effects of marijuana. Told you this. A study in the UK 5 years ago proved that if you smoke marijuana, high-potency marijuana, you are 5 times more likely to develop psychosis. This is all true. They continue on that scientists believe cannabis THC interferes with signals in the brain that control mood, attention, and memory, as well as feelings of reward and pleasure. Okay? So, this should not be legalized or further decriminalized. Look at this. Researchers note that Schedule 1 drugs have no medical benefits. Experts say addiction is common with marijuana, which often flies under the radar, they say. And I knew that. I told you that. I told you about my friend when I was in college. And he's my age now. We're both 50. But when he was in college, he did what he called wake and bake, which is you're stoned, and then you go to bed stoned, and you wake up and you get stoned. That's unthinkable. I'm being serious. To me, it is. It's mental illness. I'm not making this up. I honestly believe I'd have to be put into an insane asylum for a time if I was doing that. If I went to bed high and woke up high every day, I would literally go insane. I wouldn't know what reality was. I swear to you. That is terrifying to me that people do that to themselves. Chronic cannabis use doubles major depression risk. It doubles it. You hear that? 20% of marijuana users become addicted. Cannabis users during pregnancy, 90% have low birth weight. 80% have preterm birth, 73% have very preteen birth, 71% have major congenital abnormalities, 32% have gestational diabetes, 21% small for gestational age diabetes, small for just, I don't know what that means, and cesarean section 13. Okay, there's a few more stats I'll share with you coming up next, but this is really alarming, and it's so sad it's so sick that our president is trying to legalize it or make it more available, and it's going to hurt so many of our young children and teenagers and young 20-somethings, and they don't even realize it. 800-288-WBAP is our number. Do you support reclassifying marijuana and decriminalizing it too? Also, as promised, EVs. Can they be much more dangerous and even deadlier than other cars on the road if you're in a crash with them? Yes. All that next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Hey, before we get back to the marijuana and EVs and how deadly they are with crashes, UCLA is getting worse, and this is honestly going to be I think this might be the worst one of them all. And we don't know when it's going to go down, but I do believe this might be the worst one of them all. Look at this. From Fox News' Bill Malugin. This was earlier today, about 2 hours ago. Cops just declaring on a loudspeaker. Hold on one sec. I'm going to play the audio for you in the background. This is the UCL police declaring on a loudspeaker that UCLA encampment is unlawful and everybody must leave the area. They say that those who do not leave are subject to arrest. Encampment cheered. We're going to continue to see he says we're seeing a large amount of law enforcement gathering, but listen to this. It gets worse and worse and worse. This is, I think about, this is, I think about 40 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago, chanting, shame on you, LAPD, KKK. I mean, this is like a battlefield. I am not kidding you. There's probably 100 to 150 cops there or more, and you have all these protesters. I mean, they're in a cordon off pen right now, and I'm telling you something. I think you're going to see a battlefield here. I think this is going to be a brutal, terrible scene, and the leftists are going to freak out about this, and the Democrats are silent. They've let it get out of control, and this is what happens when you do this. When you appease, you pacify, and you ignore, and your complicity, through your silence, through your complicity. Let me read you some of what Malugin, who's on the scene, Bill Malugin from Fox News, is saying. Officers continue to arrive, this is 28 minutes ago, just outside of the UCLA encampment of campus. Tensions building big time, as he is there reporting this. And then also, per LAPD sources, they have just gone into a citywide tactical alert, citywide, as tension builds at their UCLA campus. Larger numbers of LAPD and riot gear now arriving on campus near the encampment. So, and then he also said that huge groups an hour ago of anti-Israel protesters have now shown up on both sides of the UCLA encampment. See, this is what they get for not stopping it. They had beatings for 2.5 hours last night before the cops came in, and now you've got the entire metropolitan area, the second largest metropolitan area, with 11 million people roughly in it, and you've got people that are radical Islamists, radical leftists, Marxists, socialists, and America haters, Jew haters, coming from all over the metropolitan area, and you have pro-Israeli, and you got crazy rightists and crazy leftists and pro-Israel people, and they're ready to do battle. This is like the plains of Megiddo, isn't that Megiddo? Is it called the plains of Megiddo? From the Bible. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. In a microcosmic way. It looks like the let's see what it's called in the Bible. It's called the plains of Megiddo. So there are no mountains, only the plains of Megiddo is a reference, and it's just a big, massive plain for battle. And I swear this looks like a small version of that. I think you're going to see some bad stuff going on wherever it goes down in an hour and a half hour, who knows what. And you don't have a building to clear like they did before and come in from in the building. This is going to be an open field. This is going to be very scary. And they're also probably going to come from behind. And if Gavin Newsom was not so afraid to do something, he would have declared a martial law there or something, and he would declare it now, and he would have the National Guard come in along with him, because this is going to be bad. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be very bad. Democrats are going to really hurt after all this. Okay, the City Journal, about the cannabis stuff too. The City Journal Psychiatry found that nearly 1 in 5 people who smoke cannabis meet the criteria for dependence. In 2015, about 4 million Americans qualified as having a marijuana use disorder, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, and addiction rates doubled, raising to 17%. 9% of all marijuana users, 17% of people getting high in their teenage years become addicted. This doctor expert in here that Daily Mail talked to noted the addiction rate could be as high as 50% for those who start using marijuana at young ages and opting for potency above 10%. This is insane. Lastly, the other mental health risks of regular cannabis has been shown in studies. Danish researchers delved into records of 6.5 million people over a 36-year period and found those addicted to cannabis. About 41% of individuals were diagnosed with major depression. They found chronic marijuana use quadrupled a person's risk of being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. You're actually increasing bipolar chances. So, and Joe Biden's saying, you know what, get high, destroy yourselves, just vote for me. Remember, I did this. Okay, now also EVs. This is important. I promise to share this with you tonight. Expert reveals why EVs are dangerous to some drivers on the road. They weigh thousands. An EV weighs thousands of pounds more than a gas car. Now, that means if you're driving, you're safer, but that means EVs could cause serious injury or death to others. A professor at University of Michigan said other vehicles absorb more of the crash energy in a collision due to the weight of an EV, 30% heavier than our car. A mechanical engineering professor at the University of Michigan said a crash between an EV and a gas-powered vehicles would have the same outcome as a heavy truck and a small sedan. The latter would likely be crushed. Electric vehicles are going to kill us. More likely to kill us based on what I'm seeing here. Weight plays a critical role in surviving an EV crash over other cars because it will not slow down as abruptly and has a slower rollover rate, both of which are linked to increased injuries and fatalities. So Joe Biden is destroying the environment with EVs. They're horrible to drive and to deal with, and they're killing us on the roads more, apparently, according to this brand new study from Highway Institute for Traffic Safety reveals injury claims are 40% lower than gas-powered vehicles from 2011 to 2019, but it only applies to its occupants. Inherent weightiness of the EVs offer a national advantage to protecting occupants. It means other vehicles bear the burden of absorbing more crash in the collisions from the energy with heavier EVs. This dilemma is a central concept of the crash compatibility. It's a well-established field. Guys, we're more at risk because of EVs hitting us. It's amazing. A GMC Hummer with that battery pack inside is 2,900 pounds alone. The same as a Honda Civic. So you have the GMC Hummer, the Hummer itself, the weight of it, and then you have a Honda Civic is the weight of the battery inside of that GMC. Do you understand this? And you don't want to get hit by this thing, and we don't get to choose who hits us.